It's been 30 years since the first Premier League season, and out of those 22 clubs, 12 are still in the Premier League for 22-23. We're going to look at the others and pick 5 English teams to rebuild on FM23. Let's go. Okay, first up we've got Oldham Athletic. Now, the Latics won promotion from Division 2 back in the 1991 season and survived a single season, basically to take part in the inaugural Premier League season, where they survived again, only to be relegated in 93-94. Since then, Oldham have been on a steady fall down the leagues, dropping into the 3rd tier in 97, the 4th tier in 2018, and then last season they were relegated from League 2 to become the first former Premier League side to play in the National League. Now, what this means for you is you've got a club steeped in history that are down in the doldrums right now, but you can easily pull them back up. They're obviously a big side. They've dropped into the National League for a reason, though, so they will need a rebuild, and you are the manager to do it. Club number 2 is AFC Wimbledon. Whilst technically they weren't in the original Premier League season, but the original Wimbledon side were, and they had a meteoric rise from non-league to the top flight, very similar to the Phoenix club where I'm suggesting you should manage. But that was during the 80s, and the Crazy Gang even went and won the 1988 FA Cup. The Dons were a mainstay in the first 8 seasons of the Premier League before their relegation in the year 2000. And just a year later, the club announced basically that it was going to only survive by relocating to Milton Keynes. And that happened ahead of the 2004-05 season. And basically, MK Dons have bounced around between League 1 and League 2 throughout its history, with a single season in the Championship. But we're not on about them. We're on about the Phoenix club, AFC Wimbledon, which has seen comparatively much more success and a very similar meteoric rise from non-league. They were formed in 2002, and in less than a decade they found themselves in League 2 with 5 promotions in 9 seasons. Last season they were relegated back into League 2 for the first time in 6 years, with the club basically seeing its first setback in its 20-year history. And it's a perfect opportunity for you to step in right now and basically give that club the rise that the original club had all the way up to the Premier League, and see if you can stay there and win more than just a solitary FA Cup. Number 3 on this list is Coventry City, and the Sky Blues were promoted to the top flight in 1967. Their only stint in the top flight, but it lasted for 34 seasons, including the first 9 in the Premier League. Since then, the club has been on a bit of a slow slide down the leagues, dipping into League 2 for a single season there, but they're back on the rise now. They finished the Championship last season in 12th, their highest position in 16 years. Off the pitch, though, the club has been in quite a bit of turmoil. They've fallen into administration in 2013, spent several seasons away from Coventry. They played just over a season in Northampton, 2 seasons ground sharing with Birmingham City. But now they're back at the previously named Ricoh Arena, the Coventry Building Society Arena, for the foreseeable future. And the club seem to finally be back on a little bit of a steady footing and on their rise back up the leagues, and it's an opportunity for you to make that happen and get them back into the top flight for their second stint, and maybe it'll last 34 years or more. Club number 4 on this list is one that is very close to my heart, the club I support, Blackburn Rovers. Now, Jack Walker was the original club owner to spend big money in short order to win the Premier League. Now, Uncle Jack was a lifelong supporter of the club and owner of Walker Steel, and he took over Blackburn Rovers in 1990, opened his checkbook, got Kenny Dalglish in charge, and by the time the first Premier League season were there, they were up via the playoffs and ready to take on the top flight once again. Big money signings followed, obviously, and within 2 seasons of challenging for the title, they took the title in the 94-95 season. It had taken Walker just 5 years, and maybe it'll take you 5 years to get them back up from where they are now to the top of the Premier League. The peak was never really matched again, though, and following relegation by the end of 98-99, we bounced back, returned to Europe over the next 10 years, but we were firmly in the Premier League after Walker's death in 2001. But the new owners came in, Venky's came in, and basically guided the club to relegation through a bit of a controversial time, which I'm not covering right now because it might make me cry. We left the top flight in 2012 and have spent most of the time since then in the Championship, barring a year in the League 1, which we got back straight up, don't care. The club now possess pretty much one of the best youthful sides. The core of the side right now is incredible and incredibly young, and we were very, very close to promotion challenge yet last season, second at Christmas, but fell off towards the end. But we're well placed. Blackburn are well placed to rise back to the Premier League once again, and you could be the manager to do so. The final club on this list is Middlesbrough. They were a club on the brink of collapse in the mid-80s, but new owners pushed them back from the third tier all the way to the top in time for the inaugural Premier League season. Unfortunately, it didn't last long as they were relegated at the first attempt, and they spent the rest of the 90s as a bit of a yo-yo club before cementing a decade in the Premier League, which came to an end in 2009. They've been a firm fixture in the top half of the Championship since then, very often the nearly men of the division, just missing out on promotion and playoff places basically since, well, for the last decade. They did have one season in the Premier League that was about 2017, 2018, I think. But clearly they're featuring that high for that long in the Championship that they are a squad with a core that is there for the opportunities there for the taking, basically, for you to come in and get them back into the top flight, back into European football, and make them the biggest club in the North East. And that is the top 5 teams in England to rebuild on FM23, according to Sort It Out SI. We'll see you on the next video.